I never thought my crush would ask me to do something so outrageous, especially not in front of a camera. But there I was, standing in the middle of the dusty yard, my heart racing, my palms sweaty, and our donkey staring at me like he somehow knew I was about to make a complete fool of myself. It all started as a harmless challenge, a joke, really. Or at least, that's what I thought. But when she looked at me with that mischievous glint in her eyes, I knew there was no backing out. Let me rewind a bit. I've had a crush on Mia for as long as I can remember. She's the kind of person who lights up any room she walks into, funny, fearless, and completely unpredictable. And if there's one thing I've learned about her, it's that she loves a good dare. So, when she showed up at my place that afternoon, phone in hand, grinning like she was about to change my life, I should have known something was up. She leaned against the fence, eyeing me and then the donkey, a playful smirk tugging at her lips. "I have a challenge for you," she said, holding up her phone. "But you have to do it on camera." Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for a little fun. But when someone like Mia says challenge, you can bet it's going to be something ridiculous. I hesitated, glancing at the donkey, who flicked his ears like he was already tired of whatever nonsense was about to happen. What kind of challenge?" I asked cautiously. Mia grinned wider. "Oh, don't worry. It's nothing too crazy." She paused, then added with a teasing lilt, "Unless you're scared." And just like that, I was trapped. Because there was no way I was going to look scared in front of her. Not when I'd spent years trying to impress her, hoping for just a little bit of her attention. So, against my better judgment, I squared my shoulders and said, "All right. What do I have to do?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she raised her phone, hit record, and then dropped the challenge on me like a bomb. I blinked. "Wait, what? You want me to yup?" She nodded, looking way too pleased with herself. "And you have to do it. No backing out now." I looked at the donkey. The donkey looked at me. And that's when I realized I was in way over my head. What happened next? Let's just say it was way more embarrassing than I expected. And Mia? She definitely got the reaction she was hoping for. But was it worth it? Well, you'll have to see for yourself. Stay tuned, because this is one challenge I'll never forget. I stood there, completely frozen, staring at Mia while she held up her phone, waiting for me to react. The donkey flicked his tail, completely unfazed, but I was freaking out inside. Mia's grin only grew wider as she raised an eyebrow, clearly enjoying every second of my hesitation. "Come on," she teased. "Don't tell me you're backing out already?" Backing out? Oh, I wanted to. Every part of me was screaming to just laugh it off and walk away. But the way Mia was looking at me, her eyes dancing with amusement, made it impossible. This was the girl I'd had a crush on for years, the girl who never seemed to notice me the way I wanted her to. And now? Now she was giving me her full attention, her phone camera pointed straight at me, waiting to see if I had the guts to go through with her ridiculous dare. I swallowed hard and glanced at the donkey again. His name was Buster, and he had been part of our family for as long as I could remember. My grandpa got him when I was little, and even though he was mostly lazy, he had a personality. He was stubborn, always did what he wanted, and had this weird habit of staring at you like he was silently judging your life choices. Right now, he was doing just that, watching me, probably wondering why I looked like I was about to pass out. Mia tapped her phone screen. "Clock's ticking, dude," she said, her voice light but challenging. "If you don't do it, I'm posting this anyway. Everyone's gonna see how scared you are." My stomach twisted. Everyone? She wouldn't actually, would she? I looked at her, searching for any sign that she was joking, but she just tilted her head and smirked. Oh, she was serious. I let out a slow breath and tried to act like this was no big deal. Fine, I muttered. But if I do this, you owe me. Mia grinned. Deal. That was it. No going back now. I walked up to Buster, who still didn't seem impressed with any of this. My hands were shaking, and I could already hear Mia stifling a laugh behind me. The moment she started recording again, I knew I was about to make an absolute fool of myself. But what I didn't know. This was only the beginning. And things were about to take a turn I never saw coming. Buster let out a long, dramatic sigh as if he already knew this was about to be a disaster. I reached out, hesitating for just a second, and then did exactly what Mia dared me to do. The second it happened, she burst out laughing so hard she nearly dropped her phone. Oh my gosh, she gasped between laughs. I can't believe you actually did it. I groaned, my face burning, but before I could even process the full weight of my embarrassment, Buster decided to make things worse. He twitched, gave me one of his classic unimpressed stares, and then, to my absolute horror, he reacted way more than I expected. Mia's laughter cut off as she gasped. Wait, what's he doing? I turned just in time to see Buster take a step forward, his ears pinned back slightly. He wasn't mad, exactly, but he definitely wasn't happy. And that's when it hit me, I had no control over what was about to happen next. Mia? My voice came out shaky. I think we have a problem. She was still recording, but now there was a mix of excitement and panic on her face. Oh no, she whispered, her phone tilting slightly as she stepped back. You really made him mad. I didn't have time to argue because Buster decided he was done with my nonsense. What started as a funny dare had turned into something else entirely, and suddenly, I wasn't just trying to impress Mia, I was trying to make sure I didn't end up completely humiliated on camera. And the worst part? Mia wasn't stopping the recording. She was catching everything. Buster took another step forward, and I took one back. My heart was racing now, not just from the embarrassment but from the very real possibility that things were about to spiral out of control. Mia was still filming, her eyes wide with excitement, but there was something else in her expression too, a flicker of realization that maybe this had gone a little too far. Mia, I said, my voice tight, maybe stop recording, and no way, she cut in, barely holding back laughter. This is gold. Buster twitched his ears, and in the next second, he moved. Not a slow, lazy shuffle like usual, but an actual reaction, one that sent me stumbling backward as he lunged toward me in the most chaotic way possible. Mia let out a shriek. Oh my gosh. Run. I didn't need to be told twice. I turned and bolted, but the problem was, Buster wasn't just standing there anymore. He was coming after me. Not in an angry, full-speed charge, but in that determined, you messed with the wrong donkey kind of way. And Mia? She was completely losing it behind the camera, wheezing with laughter as she tried to keep up. I dodged left. Buster followed. I cut right. He still followed. My brain was screaming at me to figure out why this was happening, but I didn't have time to think. All I could hear was Mia's laughter, my own frantic breathing, and the sound of hooves hitting the ground way too close behind me. And then, just when I thought this couldn't get any worse, I realized exactly where I was running. My stomach dropped. If I didn't stop now, I was about to make things so much worse. I barely had time to think before it happened. My feet skidded against the dirt as I realized exactly where I was headed, straight toward the water trough. It was old, big, and very full. If I didn't stop myself in time, I was going in. Mia must have realized it too, because through her breathless laughter, she gasped, "Oh no. No way." But Buster? Oh, he knew. He had this look in his eye, like he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life. He wasn't just chasing me anymore, he was hurting me, making sure I had nowhere else to go. I tried to pivot to escape, but before I could fully turn, I felt something nudge the back of my leg. Not hard, not aggressive, just enough to send me completely off balance. The next second, everything moved in slow motion. I flailed. I tried to grab onto anything, but all I got was air. And then, splash. The cold water hit me like a shock to the system. My breath caught as I went under for a second before popping back up, dripping and gasping. The only sound louder than the water sloshing around me was Mia's screaming laughter. She had completely lost it, barely able to hold her phone steady. "Oh my gosh," she shrieked. That was perfect. I wiped water from my eyes, coughing as I tried to process what had just happened. Buster stood at the edge of the trough, looking down at me with what I swear was the most satisfied expression I'd ever seen on a donkey. Like he had just won some kind of unspoken battle between us. "Mia," I groaned, pushing my wet hair out of my face. "Tell me you didn't just—" "Oh, I did," she interrupted, still grinning. She held up her phone and wiggled it. "And it's all on camera." My stomach sank. This wasn't just some embarrassing moment between the two of us anymore. This was proof. Evidence. And knowing Mia, she was definitely going to post it. "No. No way," I sputtered. "You cannot post that." She tilted her head, pretending to think. I don't know. It's really good content." I groaned again, sinking deeper into the trough. This was officially the worst day ever. But then, just as I was about to argue, just as I was about to beg her to delete it, Mia's face changed. She wasn't laughing anymore. I blinked. "What?" She didn't answer at first. She was staring past me, her mouth slightly open, her phone still recording. Mia?" I turned slowly, my heart picking up speed. That's when I saw it. And that's when I knew, this whole situation had just gone from bad to so much worse. Mia's face had lost all traces of laughter. Her wide eyes were locked onto something behind me, and for the first time since this ridiculous challenge started, I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the water. I turned slowly, my soaked clothes clinging to me as I tried to see what had her so frozen. At first, I didn't notice anything. Just the open yard, the wooden fence, and the usual afternoon stillness. But then, movement. A shadow shifting just beyond the fence. My stomach dropped. It was my grandpa. He stood there, arms crossed, his signature unimpressed look plastered across his face. He had probably been watching the whole thing, me making a complete fool of myself, Buster winning his silent revenge, and Mia capturing every humiliating second. I swallowed hard, my brain scrambling for an explanation. Hey, Grandpa." He didn't say anything right away. He just walked closer, his boots crunching against the dirt. Then, in the most serious tone imaginable, he asked, "You havin' fun in there?" Mia lost it again, doubling over in laughter, while I just sat there, completely dead inside. There was no coming back from this. Not only was my biggest crush filming my downfall, but now my grandfather had front row seats to it too. I forced an awkward laugh, pushing myself up from the trough. Water streamed off me as I stood there, dripping and defeated. "It's, not what it looks like." Grandpa raised an eyebrow. "Oh. 'Cause it looks like you got outsmarted by a donkey." Mia gasped between laughs. "See? He gets it." I groaned, rubbing my face. Can we just not make this a big deal? Grandpa sighed, shaking his head. Son, I've seen a lot of things in my life. But you running from a donkey and landing yourself in a water trough? That's a first. Before I could even respond, Mia's phone dinged. She checked it and her eyes widened. Oh. My. Gosh. She turned the screen toward me. It's already blowing up. My stomach sank as I saw the notifications flooding in. She had posted it. Mia. I shouted, but it was too late. The damage was done. The world had already seen my most humiliating moment. And the worst part? Buster just flicked his tail, looking way too satisfied. I stood there, dripping wet, staring at Mia like I had just witnessed the ultimate betrayal. She was still grinning, scrolling through the comments flooding in. This is hilarious, she said, barely holding back another laugh. People are already asking for a part 2. I groaned, dragging my hands down my face. Mia, why? Why would you post that? She shrugged, completely unapologetic. Because it's gold. I mean, come on, you running from Buster, the perfect slow-motion fall, Grandpa's reaction, it's internet history. Grandpa let out a low chuckle, shaking his head as he leaned on the fence. Well, boy, looks like you're famous now. I let out a dramatic sigh, stepping out of the trough and shaking some of the water off, mostly in Mia's direction. She squealed, jumping back. Hey. Not my fault you got outplayed by a donkey. Buster, as if sensing his victory, gave one final snort and wandered off, his work here clearly done. I watched him go, knowing full well that from this day forward, he would forever hold bragging rights, not that he needed them. He had already cemented himself as the real winner of this entire situation. Mia's phone dinged again, and she checked it with a smirk. Oh wow. It's already getting shares. I sighed, running a hand through my wet hair. Great. Can't wait for the entire town to see me humiliate myself. She nudged me playfully. Oh, please. You'll be fine. Think of it this way, at least now, people know who you are. I shot her a look. Yeah, as the guy who got chased by a donkey and fell into a trough. Awesome reputation. She grinned. Honestly? Could be worse. I wanted to argue, but deep down, I knew she was right. And as much as I wanted to be mad at her, I couldn't ignore the way she was still looking at me, like this whole thing had somehow made me more interesting to her. Maybe I had embarrassed myself, maybe the internet would never let me live it down, but for once. Mia actually saw me. Grandpa patted my shoulder before heading back toward the house. Come on, kid. Let's get you dried off before you catch a cold, and before that girl gets any more ideas. Mia laughed. Too late. I groaned again, but despite everything, I couldn't help but smile. Maybe this wasn't how I imagined impressing my crush, but somehow, in the weirdest way possible, I had.